Golden State Media Concepts Sci-Fi Podcast. Together we dive into the world of sci-fi and science fiction. From episodes of Star Trek, Star Wars, to The Walking Dead, Resident Evil, all the hot new science fiction movies from the backdoors of Marvel or DC. The Golden State Media Concepts Sci-Fi Podcast. You'll never look at science fiction the same way again.
Welcome to the GSMC SciFi Podcast with your favorite host, Ryan Holloway. Brought to you by and presented on the GSMC Podcast Network to fulfill all of your podcasting needs. Now, have you guys ever like watched the movie just because you had to? Not because you not in like a relationship situation where someone's like, you have to watch this movie with me. And you're like, but I don't want to watch it. Like, no, but you do. And I'm not saying just women do this to men. Men do it to women too. Like, it's not a gender bias thing. Everyone does this to somebody at one point. But I don't mean a situation like that where your significant other makes you watch a movie. I just mean you feel like you have to watch it, just not even to be caught up, but just to cover all your bases. To cover your bases. That's what it is. You have to watch the movie to cover your bases. And I've done this. I'll try to do this with a couple different Marvel movies. And what I realized is that I don't have to do it. I don't have to. I don't. I'm going to get into that. But first, I want to talk about something that I thought about today. I was listening to the radio and they were saying there's a group that's going to Congress to try to get the aviation society, whoever's in charge of airplanes or whatever, trying to get them to give the seats more space because they're saying it's a safety hazard and people can't get out the seats in time. Really, people just want more space. But they're saying people can't get out of these seats in time if there's an emergency. And the people that are, the airline people are like, no, these seats are fine. Everyone get out the seats in time. And I was thinking about how we've gotten so used to plane travel where you can get in a plane and just go somewhere. But now there's complaints like, there's not enough room on this seat. I need more room on the seat. But you paid $13 for this seat. What's wrong? What's your problem? Well, there's not enough room on the seat. And I wonder if like years from, I don't know, maybe 50 years from now, when we have actual space travel and it becomes convenient, will there be the same issues? Because when you see movies like for, let's say, Prometheus, right? Prometheus, and then there's a bunch of sci-fi movies where people are traveling somewhere else in space, and there's just plenty of room on the ship. There's plenty of room. Sometimes you're asleep, sometimes you're not asleep. You get out of your little canister. If you're in a canister, you're asleep, so you're fine. But what if when you want to go to Mars or something, it is like a bus and it's just super uncomfortable? Is it as luxurious as we thought it was going to be? I feel like you imagine going to Mars or going to another planet and you're like, yeah, we're going to go there. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to get on a spaceship and be there. But if it's going to be like a bus, or if it's going to be like flying some toilet bowl airline where you're like sitting on someone else's lap for an hour and a half, do you really want to go to Mars that bad? Do you really want to go? I don't think so. I wouldn't want to go. So just something I was thinking about, because I'm pretty sure when airplanes came out, when they were like, people are, oh my God, this is so amazing. But when they first started creating airplanes, I think there was more room on the seats. They say since 1978, the seats have gotten 3 inches closer to each other. 3 inches. I don't know if that's a lot, but it is a lot when you talk about leg space. 3 inches makes a huge difference when it comes to reclining your seat. You know this. On an airplane, when you recline your seat, it doesn't recline. It does a thing where if you push the button, your elbow goes back a little bit. That's what reclining on an airline is. It's nothing else more than that. So I just wonder if when we go to Pluto or Mars, if it's going to be like that. Wait, Pluto isn't a planet anymore, right? It turned into a star and died out. I don't know. I don't have that much information on that. But what I wanted to talk about was, so a few months ago, I watched Doctor Strange. And then just 2 days ago, I watched Spider-Man Homecoming. And I watched Spider-Man Homecoming because Spider-Man died in Avengers 4. Spoiler alert. Sorry, the movie came out months ago. You should have figured out. Spider-Man dies or he disappears or whatever. In Avengers, was that 4 or 3? In Infinity War, he died. He just vanished, right? And then they have this new Spider-Man coming out where they don't know if it's going to be tied into the next Avengers movie. So the next Avengers movie has to come out before the next Spider-Man movie. So for Spider-Man to be around, because as of right now, we don't know where he's at. He's in some dimension somewhere. And so I was like, okay, well, I figure, okay, Spider-Man matters. I guess I should figure out what's going on with him then. I mean, it's a big deal, right? I decided I should watch Spider-Man and find out what's going on with him. I also decided I should watch Ant-Man. Now, I learned something interesting about watching these two movies that I didn't know before. And I'm not going to say you don't have to go see every Marvel movie, but you don't. And every Marvel movie isn't for you. I just want you to know that every Marvel movie isn't for you. So this brought me to something else, because some people didn't want to go see Black Panther because I'm not really into Black Panther. I don't want to go see it. And suddenly they were looked at in a particular way because it's like the first Black Marvel superhero, but people were judged in a particular way for not wanting to go see the movie. Ironically, after watching Spider-Man and watching Ant-Man, I felt the same way though. And I didn't want to go see Spider-Man for a particular reason. There's a direct reason that I didn't want to go see Spider-Man, because I knew I had a feeling I wasn't going to be into it, but I wanted to watch it because I felt like he was important because he just died. He's got a sequel coming out, and I figured I should watch Ant-Man because Ant-Man's sequel just came out. I'm going to tell you what I found out as soon as I get back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
Welcome back to the GSMC SciFi Podcast with your favorite host, Ryan Holloway. So I was saying, I saw Ant-Man and then I saw Spider-Man. And the reason I didn't want to go see Spider-Man was because, Tom Holland looks like a pretty good actor from what I've seen, right? From what I've seen in the Avengers movie, looks like he's a pretty good actor. And my only issue was, I was like, you know what? I don't want to see that because I feel like what they're going to do, they're going to make him a 12-year-old. They're going to make him a 12-year-old, and I'm not going to be interested in it. I could tell by the trailer. Like, I didn't want to see it. I just already knew. But I wanted to watch this movie because I felt like I should see it, because I want all this Marvel stuff is all going to tie in soon, and I want to make sure I just know everything that's happening. I wanted to make sure. Had to make sure that I saw the movie. Like, and I get it. I completely understand what you guys are thinking. Like, Ryan, that movie came out last year. I know it came out last year, but I'm letting you know the reason I'm doing this for those of you that are probably going to go see Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm giving you guys a heads up because it all connects. Now, all the other Spider-Mans, I saw Tobey Maguire, which I thought was great. I had no problem with Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I thought it was great. Andrew Garfield, I thought Andrew Garfield was incredible. I liked the part 2. I thought it was super good, but I get it. I mean, maybe they didn't tie in the other guys incorrectly, or Andrew Garfield was getting too old. I don't know what they wanted to do. I felt like I liked those Spider-Man movies. I thought they were pretty good. Now, when they went with Tom Holland, I'm pretty sure they wanted to have someone that was going to look like, I don't know, a younger person for a pretty long time. And I was like, I'm not sure if I want to go see this. So I watched it, and he's 15 in the movie, The other Spider-Mans, they're not 15. I don't think Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield are ever 15. I think they're always a senior or about to go to college. I think. I couldn't tell you for sure. But he's a child in the movie, and he's really irritating. The way you guys see him in the Avengers, talking a lot like a 15-year-old, being super excited. It's just like that. You know what I got from it? What I got from it was this is like an incredibly young version of Deadpool, because he's really unorthodox and isn't very smooth and falls a lot, and he's just an unorthodox superhero. Spider-Man really wants to help. He wants to be a part of everything. Deadpool's like, I don't really want to be a superhero. I'm not sure. Not really sure. But it wasn't for me. And it wasn't. And you know what? You know what's interesting? The thing is this. It was the way they tied Iron Man in and like had Iron Man show up and help him out during the movie. That was cool. I mean, there's a bunch of Tony Stark appearances in it, which is cool. Basically, Tony Stark plays a father figure in the movie for the most part. That's what it comes down to, right? And the end of the movie doesn't even have a special trailer clippy thingy. There's no trailer clippy. There's just Captain America. Captain America is at the end of it, and he does like a joke, right? Basically saying, you waited all this time for nothing. And there's no hidden agenda in it. There's no metaphor. He's standing in front of a white screen. And he says, patience is very important, because sometimes you can wait a long time and get nothing. And you learn character from that. And that's it. So Marvel even told me this movie didn't matter. That's what I was getting at with that. Marvel told me this movie didn't matter, and I didn't need to see it. This is what this movie is for. This movie is for the person, this is for the dad that loves Deadpool. He loves Deadpool. And he can't take his son because he's 7, right? So he takes his son to Spider-Man. And that's it. I try to watch Ant-Man too, because I wanted to watch Ant-Man because the Wasp movie was coming out in a couple of days. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to check this out. I turned it on. And wow. You know, I don't know how many of you guys are shoe connoisseurs, but a while ago, I don't know if they still do this as much. I don't buy a lot of Jordans anymore, but they used to release Jordans, and they had like Team Jordans or Jordan Pros. They had these other Jordans that weren't really as expensive as the other Jordans. They were Team Jordans, basically, for teams. They were cheaper. And I feel like these other movies that aren't Avenger movies, I don't even know what they're called. Like these other non-flagship movies, they're like Team Jordans. So I'm not saying don't go see them, because the graphics, I mean, the CGI is really good. The production's really good. With me seeing this movie, I've seen 6 Spider-Man movies. I can only watch so much Spider-Man. The thing with this one is interesting because, right, with this Spider-Man, Tony Stark made the suit, so it makes a little bit more sense, because with the other one, right, it's like, where did Peter Parker get this money from to make this suit? Right? Like how this happened. But for Tony Stark to make the suit, I get it. It makes sense. It kind of ties everything into like an Apple type of thing though, where I got this MacBook Air, I got this iPhone, I got this Apple TV, I got these Apple earbuds, I got these Apple shoes, I got this Apple belt, I got this Apple pacemaker, I got this Apple Watch. It kind of ties into the whole everything under one branch thing, which is what they've done with Tony Stark and Iron Man. I guess maybe it makes things easier. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but it wasn't for me. And I'm 100% okay with saying that. Doctor Strange was good. Like the theory of it was pretty good, but the superhero, he's not really for me either. But I liked that movie more than these child movies, even though all 3 of them were rated PG-13. Ant-Man and Spider-Man, they just didn't do it. They just didn't do it for me. You want to know what really got me with Ant-Man? When I watched it, I mean, it makes sense. I get it. It's a child movie. It's science fiction. I understand. But him having the radio to talk to ants and all that, that's really outstanding if I was younger. But I I don't really need you to talk to ants too. I mean, you could just fight the crime by yourself, but to enlist ants to fight your crimes too, I mean, to help you out, I don't really, it's not, I don't know. It's not a good idea. I do one thing that was pretty good about both of these movies though. I like how they have what they've got going on is not, they've got the, how do you say, they've constructed the movie in a way where it's not just, it's not just some bad guy trying to take over the planet and destroy stuff for no reason, which can get really old. I talked about that with you guys when we talked about Justice League. I talked about how the bad guy was just really, really outdated. But within the situation, like with Ant-Man, Michael Douglas is in it, and Michael Douglas gets let go from a firm. He gets let go from a firm that wants to use some technology that he's released to. They want to use this suit and distribute it to the army, and he doesn't want to do it. So he wants Ant-Man to go in and steal the technology. So I don't want to say it's like Bill Gates versus Steve Jobs type of thing, but it's interesting that like it's about power again. I talked to you guys about this with Jurassic Park. It came out to who has the power of this technology, and I thought that was interesting. Like Ant-Man isn't trying to fight some bad guy that just wants to take over the city. Like this bad guy wants to sell this suit to the army and have a more effective army and more effective weapons. And then with Spider-Man, I thought with Spider-Man, the story was actually really pretty good. Even though he's a child in the movie, the story was really good because what ends up happening is the way the bad guy is developed, it's in a situation where they flash back like 4 years when there's this massive Avengers fight, and there's Michael Keaton. Is that his name? Is Michael Keaton the Batman guy? Yeah, Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton and his junk guys. He like repurposes scrap metal. He's going to repurpose all the scrap metal, and these people say, "No, you can't do this. We're taking the job, and we're going to repurpose scrap metal." And it's like a Stark group, and the guy's like, "So," but he's like, "No, I have a job. Like that's what I do. I collect scrap metal. This is my job. I already bought trucks." So like, whatever, you have to figure it out on your own. And he ends up like keeping a small diamond or whatnot, a small energy piece from an alien ship. They flash forward 3 years later. He's using this piece to just basically create a bunch of weapons and sell them to people. So his job got taken by the people that basically create his job. So the people that destroyed the city are also going to put the city back together. So that destroyed his job, right? And he starts to feed his family. So he begins creating weapons and selling them. Spider-Man doesn't like it. Spider-Man says, you gotta get these weapons off the streets. So again, it's power, right? It's just complete power. Even though Spider-Man has this suit, and he can run around like just destroying whatever he wants. A deli actually gets burned up because of Spider-Man, but it's about power. And I enjoy that the superhero movies are doing that now, where it's more about, I guess, economics and power struggles versus I want to take over the whole world and just kill everybody. Even Thanos in the Avengers, he's like, I need to kill half the population, because if I don't kill half the population, then all the resources are going to end. So I have to kill half the population, then I'm going to die. That's the most selfless act I've ever heard of any villain. Like that's crazy, right? But it's not selfish. It's completely selfless, even though it's completely insane. But all the movies are going to a point where it's just more about realistic power versus in Justice League, where some guy wants to come and just turn the earth into some other dimension. Like, come on, dude. This is what you guys are still doing. So that's that. My point in all that is I don't feel like if you feel bad about not seeing all the Marvel movies, you heard it from here first from Ryan Holloway. You only have to see the flagship ones. But I tell you what, if you do want to watch Spider-Man, it's a good watch. I watched it on HBO. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. You know, would I watch it again? I'd watch on an airplane. Yes, I'd watch it on an airplane. I would watch it on an airplane, because the suit does some nice stuff, I would say. Does some nice stuff. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. When I get back, I'm going to make my official weekly Netflix recommendation. Be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC SciFi podcast with your favorite host, Ryan Holloway. So I was telling you guys, I'm going to make a Netflix recommendation, but before I do that, I forgot I wanted to tell you about this show on HBO. It's called The Leftovers, and I just finished it. Today, but it did 3 seasons, and I figured it could only do 3 seasons because there's only so much you can do with that actual with that premise. Basically what happens in this city is on the planet. So on the planet, 2% of the population just vanishes. 2% no one knows where they're at. They're all just gone. In the middle of like random tasks. Like people would be driving, people were at the register, people were at grocery stores. Babies were just disappearing. People were at kitchen tables, completely just missing, just gone. And at first, when you first turn it on, you're like, okay, what can this possibly be about? I mean, how much can you do with this? Now, it's an incredible show. I believe the first 2 seasons are like 10 episodes. The last one's 8 episodes. I watched the first 2 seasons and then I just got HBO again. So I just ran through the last season and it ended, and it was the way it ended for what it was, it ended great. But the first season is so ridiculous because when looking back on it, when I was watching, I was like, this is just too crazy. Why are all these people just acting in this way? Now, when something happens like that, that's completely unexplainable, everyone has a theory and no one has an explanation. And that's probably the most dangerous time ever. There's always these times when we talk about the apocalypse is coming, Armageddon, this, Return of God, all this stuff, and nothing ever happens. But one day, I watch the show sometimes, it's October 14th. On October 14th, 2% of the population just completely disappears, just vanishes. They're gone. So they put together a whole bureau for it, and it follows the lives of about 10 to 15 different people that are just dealing with this at this time. And it's a great show. If you guys can watch it, you can just imagine the amount of chaos that happens with, like, so people are convicted to their beliefs right now. Just they're convicted of their beliefs. You know people that believe something that there's no way that you think in your mind will ever happen, or they can't even explain it, but they're determined to their conviction. Imagine if something happened that was completely unexplainable, how they would feel then, right? So if you guys get the chance, just watch the first 2 episodes. It's a great show. People, they don't die. They don't get kidnapped. They just come up missing. Imagine you're driving down the street and you're in a car with your significant other. You're talking to them and they're gone. They're just missing. The seatbelt is still closed, but they're there. Or you go put your baby in the car. You put the groceries in the trunk. You go back there and your baby's gone. Or you're buying something at that grocery store. You're paying the cashier and she just vanishes, just gone. That's what these people had to deal with. And the aftermath of that is it's unexplainable. If you guys get a chance, please watch it. It's called The Leftovers. That my recommendation was gonna be ANON on Netflix, but actually my new recommendation is Leftovers. But that's a lot of episodes. I recommend ANON. It's a movie with Clive Owen. It's really good. Basically, it's far in the future when everything that we do is in our mind. So, our phones, our memory, everything's in our mind. So, for example, this woman says, "Hey, I think that maid stole my bracelet," and the detective says, "Okay, let me see." And they look at each other. He looks into her, basically her brain, and then they're just sitting on a regular table. He looks through her memory bank. You can see everything moving around, and he sees that she took the bracelet off, and then he instantly has access to that maid's movements. And he sees if the maid took the bracelet, and the maid didn't take the bracelet because he can see what she did, and he's like, "Oh no, she didn't take it." But the police, the authorities, they all have access to everything we do. You can, because you have to, and with people that you can share your thoughts with them. You say, "Let me see." This guy was talking to his wife, and she said, "Have you been drinking?" And he said, "No, I haven't been drinking." He's like, "Let me see." And he's like, "No, I'm not going to let you see." And then they got in an argument. And basically there's a serial killer who is killing people, and they can't see what's happening because for some reason serial killer has access to like these memories, and they're basically a hacker. And I can't explain it the way that you can see it, but it's called ANON. It's got a great twist. Actually, I'm lying. There's no twist. It's a serial killer movie, but the movie is more about the technology than it is about like the twist. Basically, it's just a look into our future when we're actually gonna have access to. You make a phone call to someone, you basically say that you look into it. You have to be near a mirror or whatever, or near some type of glass. You say their name and their face pops up as long as they're near a mirror. It's ridiculous. I highly recommend you watch it. It's called ANON, ANON, and then check out Leftovers as well. With 2% of the population just completely vanishing, I don't want you guys to feel like I vanished, but this will be my last episode recording a GSMC Sci-Fi podcast for you. There will be more GSMC Sci-Fi podcasts. They just won't be hosted by me, your favorite host, Ryan Holloway. I appreciate you letting me bless your ears with the sweet sounds of my voice these last couple months. And like I always say, live long, prosper, watch over pados. I greatly appreciate you being the most awesome audience ever. Thank you so much. Bye.